In this class of business environment and ethical practices, we'll be learning about measures to check inflation. First of all, let's have a look at what inflation is. Inflation is basically the sustained rising prices of goods and services in an economy over a period of time. As prices rise, a single unit of currency loses value as it buys fewer goods and services. Since the product or goods or services are expensive, then undoubtedly the customer will not be able to buy the same amount of goods and services with the amount of money that it was able to do earlier. This loss of purchasing power impacts the general cost of living for the common public, which ultimately leads to a deceleration in economic growth. What is called Mangai in typical terms, right? If the actual value of the currency is falling down, the products are getting more expensive, becoming more expensive, then undoubtedly a chunk of population will not be able to buy goods and services anymore, which ultimately brings the economic growth to halt, or at least it will reduce it. The consensus view among economists is that sustained inflation occurs when a nation's money supply growth outpaces economic growth. So, if the money supply in the market is more than the economic growth, then inflation might happen. Let's first look at what are the main causes of inflation. First one is monetarism, wherein if the money supply in the market is too good, or we can say in other words, people have abundant of money in their hands to use that money as their disposable income, then what will happen? Inflation takes place. Second is demand push inflation, wherein people, when the supply part is not as good as the demand, and what happens after a certain point when the demand for certain goods and services is increasing and the supply is not there, and what happens? Anybody who has got extra money will buy the product. So basically, we can say that too much of money is chasing too less of goods and services, and hence the Mangai thing will be seen there. Then comes cost push inflation. This is caused due to increasing cost of factors of production. For sure, if the factors of productions are expensive for any organization, it is bound to charge more prices for its product, which ultimately leads in increasing prices of the goods and services all over the market, and hence the same thing happens with with same amount of money you may not be able to buy goods and services which you were buying earlier. So inflation takes place. Last but not the least is the administrative prices. This is the fourth cause. This is also a type of cost push inflation only, but here rise in prices is seen because of the result because of the resulting increase in administrative prices. So maybe like due to extra taxation, or the government has revised the charges for electricity, water, anything, which impacts the price, if at all it does, which impacts the prices of the goods and services. Now let's have a look at what all measures can be taken to control the inflation. There are three types of measures. One is with the help of monetary policy, second with the help of fiscal policy, and third is other measures. Monetary measures are, first one is credit control. We are a credit economy. If good amount of credit is available in the market, which that means that people will take credit and they'll spend more. If the credit is not available, then lot many people will be looking at small amount of credits for which they might have to pay higher charges or higher interest rate, which further discourages the trend of credit. We have to keep in mind this level. So if the economy is doing good, like inflation is running, then the government attempts to reduce the credit available in the market. If the economy is seeing or experiencing a slowdown, then with the help of monetary policy, the RBI attempts to increase the credit availability so that people can buy and can take credit and can spend more so that economy can be revived. Second is demonetization of currency, like what we saw in 2016 also. One of the monetary measures is to demonetize currency of higher denominations. Such a measure is usually adopted when there is abundance of black money in the market. That we saw also. Then issue of new currency. The most extreme monetary measure is the issue of new currency in the place of old currency, but it is not advisable all the time. In fact, certain countries like Venezuela have seen that they took this step, but it didn't go well with them. If we look at the fiscal measures, one is reduction in unnecessary expenditure. If the country is going through slowdown, the government can cut down on its unnecessary expenditure and can route that money towards good programs which can ultimately contribute in the economic development. Second is increase in taxes. And when we talk about all these steps, these can work both the ways, like increase in taxes. Increase in taxes can be used as a tool when the inflation is pretty much, which means that the public has already good amount of money with them and they are already spending it, which is giving rise to inflation. To check that, taxes can be increased. Vice versa, if the money or the sufficient earning is not there in the market, people might not spend that much. In that case, taxes can be reduced. For example, as of now, taxes must be capped in a controlled way so that people have more and more money with them and they can spend it in order to give boost to the economy. Then increase in saving. If the government is charging less taxes, it can undoubtedly it is giving a chance for the to the people to save. Apart from that, if the government is giving good no good offer in terms of interest rates on its bonds and all, then also people tend to save money and then keep that with banks or in the form of purchase of these security bonds, etc. And vice versa. Surplus budgets, an important measure is to adapt anti-inflationary budgetary policy. For this purpose, the government should give up deficit financing and instead have surplus budgets. It means collecting more in revenues and spending less. So here again, the kind of step which it is called budgetary control. And then last but not the least is public debt. At the same time, it should stop repayment of public debt and postpone it to some further date. So the basic idea is to reduce the spendings and increase in revenues will lead the government to have more money which it can be used to check inflation. Last but not the least, other measures are first is to increase production. Government must emphasize at increasing production so that it will have two effects. First of all, for more production, more factors of production will be required. Hence, the people like all these land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, all the factors of production will get money, so the money flow in the market will improve. Second, rational wage policy. In case of inflation, almost most of the times, wage spiral thing is seen. Means people are getting more wages. That's why they are spending more, which is giving rise to inflation. So rational wage policy has to be implemented. Third, price control must be seen. And in the times of inflation and all, the companies tend to take undue advantage of the demand prevailing in the market. So that must also be seen. And last but not the least is rationing. Rationing, the government provides the ration or the necessary things to the public. Like recently in times of COVID-19, the central government launched a scheme where they provided cereals and grains to 80 crore population of our country. At least they had plans to. So this is basically wherein the government tends to provide the basic necessities things to the general public so that they can afford to survive in bad times also. Thank you.